Yo guys, welcome back, and today I'm going to be talking about the cut content of BO2 Zombies. If you enjoy, please like and subscribe, and yeah, let's get into it. So, there were 3 cut DLC maps, so those being Abandoned Mine, which would have been DLC 2, Facility Power Plant, which would have been DLC 3, which I assume was part of the power plant from Transit, and finally New York Tunnels, which would have been set in, well, New York City, which would have also been DLC 4. This was replaced by Buried, by the way, in case you're interested. Now, as for why these maps were cut, that's actually more interesting. So these 3 maps were directed by Jimmy Zielinski, and due to BO2 Zombies' general poor reception, at least at this point, yet a lot of people don't remember that. Clearly, short-term memory loss is a massive thing in the COD community, that side. He was replaced by Blundell's campaign team, who made most of the DLC maps we actually saw in BO2. And speaking of DLC, there was actually a cut DLC 5. Now, this is basically the same as Zombie Chronicles in BO3. There were 9 maps planned for this, and these were Nakda and Toten, Verrucht, Shino Numa, De Reese, Kino de Toten, 5, Ascension, Shangri-La, and Moon. This was actually confirmed to exist actually fairly recently, so that's something, which is also the gameplay you're seeing in the background. Next, Transit. So, Transit is obviously in the game, but has a lot of cut content. So much so that it could actually just be its own video. The reason for this stems from the fact that the original concept for Transit was a lot bigger in scale. All of these were mostly cut due to either performance issues or memory issues. So we're going to start with the alternate bus route, or bus route B. So this would have been, well, an alternate bus route. So it would have contained 4 areas: cornfields, Nakda and Toten. So yeah, Nakda was actually cut twice from BO2. Also the power station and a place known as Tunnel. There's a bunch of cut game modes for Transit. So the first being Cleansed, which is a bit like Infected. And then there is Containment, which is basically the player trying to stop zombies from leaving a certain area. This would have played on the aforementioned Nakda and Toten submap. There was also Deadpool, 2 words, which just says reach the end before your teammates. Also, Meat is mentioned, more on that later. Also, speaking of that, Meat. Now, this was basically a game of hot potato where zombies would only attack you if you had the meat. There was also No Man's Land and Pitted, which is basically the same thing. In the case of No Man's Land, the game ends when everyone dies, or in the case of Pitted, it only ends when one team is still standing. There is also Race, which is just a race to get through a certain amount of doors that would be unlocked through killing zombies. And finally, Returned. I would love to tell you about this mode, but there is literally nothing known about it. So, next there was a sub-mode of sort for Turned called Classic. So this would have had a similar list of weapons to Reverse Gun Game. So these weapons were, just in case you're interested, the RPD, the M1216, the Executioner, the Shikon, I don't actually know how to say it, CQB, the Cap 40, and the M1911. Next, the Expanded Origins. So, Origins is obviously in the game. However, the scope, a bit like Transit, was a lot larger originally. So, this would have included a farmhouse, which you can see here in this picture, this concept art. There is also a farmhouse, a graveyard, and a so-called main chamber. These were cut for the similar reasons as I mentioned to Transit, mostly the memory issues, but not so much performance, which is pretty interesting. And finally for this video, power-ups. So there's 2 power-ups, the first being Meat, as I've mentioned before. So what this was, is it was basically like a monkey bomb, in terms of functionality, but the zombies would only attack you when you had the meat, and a zombie head, which was intended for grief and was basically the same as Meat, or very similar at least. The zombie head belongs to Richtofen, by the way. So yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below what you thought about this, and yeah, bye.